Everywhere he looks, Lewis sees financial choices. He's just moved into a house in Durham with his partner. With 4 young children and a new school term looming, the costs quickly pile up. Despite both working full-time, they only have £50 to spare at the end of the month.
There is no plan B. And that's quite scary when you've got 4 kids to look after. My kids, for instance, they're really interested in music. Lessons that were available at school, couldn't do them. It's that simple. I'm sorry. My 9-year-old now, you go for a day out somewhere. The little ones are shouting for ice cream, kind of an ice cream, kind of an ice cream, and the 9-year-old sort of holds back a bit, which is kind of sad.
This is just one example of the impact of the 2-child limit on benefits, which means parents can only claim tax credits and universal credit for the first 2 children in their family. Announced by former Chancellor George Osborne in 2015, it was brought in 2 years later.
The benefit system should not support lifestyles and rents that are not available to the taxpayers who pay for that system.
The policy was aimed at families on benefits. Now, the majority of families impacted are in work, like Lewis's.
How much of a difference would it make for you if the 2-child cap didn't exist?
It would make a huge difference. They would be able to take part in stuff at school that they can't currently take part in. They'd be able to, we wouldn't have to worry too much about if the clothes are too big or too small. We could get clothes that fit them.
And not just about the cost as well, having people in decent work and not living in poverty.
There were warnings that the policy wasn't suitable from the start. Lewis's Labour MP in Durham was a local councillor when it was first brought in.
We've seen exactly what was going to happen. It's not just about the immediate poverty that children are facing, but it's those longer term impacts on families, and then they're relying on public services throughout their lives, and it's an absolute scourge on our society.
To put it into perspective, younger children are losing £66 a week of support compared to the older siblings. That's a significant amount of money to move them forward in future lives.
Is this for one?
This is for
one person.
Mary says the 2-child limit's leading to more working people using food banks across the northeast. In the northwest, it's a similar situation. In Liverpool, Anne and Jane have been helping the community of West Everton for decades.
Yeah. Times was hard, apparently, but not as hard as now. We've gone worse instead of better.
Loads worse. It's completely different now.
And they're in no doubt about the effect of the 2-child limit.
If you've got 4 kids, I'll just say to the other 2, you can't eat this week because I've only got their money. That'd be called depriving your child, and our kids will probably get took off us if we've done that. So why is the government doing it?
And you're seeing that happening?
We see it happening here.
A lot of these families have got people in work, and yet the mantra comes out, well, if you just get into work, you'll be fine. That is a lie.
It should be the biggest issue, and while...
The Labour MP for the area, Kim Johnson, is one of the party's most vocal critics of the 2-child limit. Last month, 7 of her colleagues lost the whip for backing an amendment to the King's speech calling for the policy to be scrapped.
I was conflicted, if I'm honest with you, yeah.
In the end, she decided not to vote on it.
Do you understand why some people here might have been angry about you abstaining?
I had a lot of publicity in terms of the removal of the 2-child cap. I was seen as, the person championing it, and so I understand it. Having the whip removed so early on in a Labour government would not benefit, the constituents.
Kim Johnson still wants the cap scrapped, but believes keeping the whip is the best path to getting there. Last month, the Prime Minister was asked whether he'd act on the concerns some of his MPs have about the policy.
Child poverty is something that we need to eradicate. And there's a very strong feeling in the Labour Party and Labour movement about that. That is precisely why I set up the task force to tackle child poverty. There is no silver bullet. If there was a silver bullet, it had been shot a very long time ago. It's a complicated set of factors that I know and I can see every day in my own constituency.
Where there's a will, there's a way. These are the wealth builders of the future. We're seeing, children diagnosed with Victorian diseases as a result of poverty and poor nutrition. This should not be happening in the 6th richest economy in the world.
The price of getting rid of the 2-child limit is billions of pounds. Charities estimate doing so could immediately lift 500,000 children out of poverty. Calls to scrap the cap are not just coming from within Labour, but across the political spectrum. As Parliament returns, that may become pressure that Keir Starmer cannot afford to look past.
Well, in response to our report, a government spokesperson said no child should be in poverty. That's why our new cross-government task force will develop an ambitious strategy to reduce child poverty and give children the best start in life. Alongside this urgent work, we will roll out free breakfast clubs in all primary schools while delivering on our plan to grow the economy and make work pay for hard-working families in every part of the country.